Hi, my name's Julian Tait. I'm the CEO of Open Data Manchester, and we've been around for since 2010. And we try and help organizations, communities, individuals understand the data that's about themselves and how to use that data responsibly so that they can create benefit for not only themselves, wider society, people, planet, and prosperity. One of the areas of interest that we've been involved with over the last few years, well, actually since 2012, has been around how organizations can become custodians of people's data to enable people to have better understanding of how data is used, how to enable a better flow of data, of better quality data, and also help people make informed decisions about how data can be used, thus creating value for themselves, their communities, and wider society. We know that data is playing an increasingly powerful role in our lives, yet it is, for most people, intangible. And unless you are a data native, how data is used and processed can seem to be overwhelming. So we believe that this is really important that we enable and we create organizations that can help people do this, look after data and steward data on the behalf of those people. A particular area of interest is around data cooperatives. And we have an interest in data cooperatives in that we believe that mutual data organizations which have strong governance structures could potentially help solve some of the problems that we face around data, about responsible data use. We think that the cooperatives work quite well because they are well-established organizational structures. They've been around since 1844 when they were first developed in the north of England, well, in Rochdale, just outside of Manchester. And there were developed a number of principles that still hold today. Cooperatives are well-established organizational structures. More than 1 in 10 of the world's population is involved in one of the 3 million cooperatives that exist today, and they work meaningfully in many areas of our lives, such as farm cooperatives, producer cooperatives, and even the kind of cooperatives that we see on our high streets. But they all have these kind of common principles, from they being voluntary and open membership, so anybody can join them. They have good governance, well-established governance mechanisms, and they can controlled by their members. But they also have kind of autonomy and independence. They're able to make their own decisions, and they have a role around training and informing to enable their members to understand how the cooperative works, and to help them take a part within decision-making processes and the governance of their cooperatives. And also that there is a network of cooperatives that are there to help each other. So given these solid foundations, we are an advocate of data cooperatives so that they can create an environment for members to pool their data so it can be used to further their collective aspirations. By doing this, members should have more control over their data about them, and they can maximize the value of the data that they produce. So what we think is the advantage is that they generally will have some kind of community benefit. So we know that cooperatives form around collective challenges and areas of common endeavor. And when we started looking at how this could work within a data environment, we started working with a small energy cooperative called Carbon Co-op in 2020, 2021. And what we found was within the cooperative, there was an alignment of people's aspirations. And those aspirations and their understanding and the governance within that cooperative structure seemed to enable a willingness to share data more effectively. There was a strong trust relationships within the cooperatives, because people understood what the purpose of that cooperative was. And what we did like in particular was that because data is an abstract concept, the idea of a cooperative being used to educate people was an incredibly strong one. If we educate people as to how data is being used, how data is being collected, then people can actually become more of a participant within that process. Context can be added to the data. The data is not just extracted. It also creates an environment where there is a common understanding of the power of data, but also that because people have more control and understand, that better data can be shared, better context can be added to that data. But all organizations have their challenges, and governance, whether it be governance of the organization itself or governance with regards to data, is a particularly challenging area. There are different cooperatives with different models. Some have flat structures, some are more hierarchical. But when we started to explore how data could be used within the cooperatives, we did find that, and this was enabled through the Open Data Institute's Data Access Stimulus Fund, this work, there were a number of flows. And because there were a number of data flows that could exist within the cooperative, there could also be a number of value flows, and these would need to be governed in some way. So within the cooperative, there were kind of member to cooperative data flows where data was energy users, the cooperative would pull together that data to enable it to develop its services. But this was wasn't utilizing what we saw the power of that data. What we saw that could happen within a cooperative, individual members could exchange data with each other, given the appropriate data sharing mechanisms were in place to enable benchmarking, or people within the energy cooperative to understand how some kind of mitigation worked in one context, and perhaps that could work within their own. There was an opportunity of federating data amongst similar-minded organizations, so that they had potentially the same ethical aspirations, and that would enable a more trustworthy way of sharing that data. The cooperative could also share data under traditional licensing agreements. There was nothing stopping it from doing that. And also, because the energy cooperative itself was trying to solve certain societal problems around decarbonising our energy usage, decarbonising the way that we create products and services, that the cooperative could also create a common database, an open database that could potentially be used by other organizations. But what we found with data is not necessarily the same as how to manage an organization itself. That there were certain complexities with how data got shared and in what context. And we started to develop mechanisms around automated decision making. So if a certain level of an ethical kind of ranking had been achieved, then data could be shared, and this could be automated. Although automation within an organization has its own challenges, because people want to understand how that data is actually shared, and they want to know that they still have control over that. So all these kind of aspects were kind of identified. Sustainability within a cooperative is also incredibly important. I mean, if the cooperative can't sustain itself, why would it wouldn't exist? And yet we looked at what was happening around the world as far as nascent data cooperatives started to emerge, and we saw them started to emerge in the gig economy. There was driver seat cooperative in the United States that enabled Uber and Lyft drivers to start pooling data, which provided value to those drivers and also for the cities in which they worked. There's health cooperatives, and now there started to be kind of personal data management cooperatives that started to understand how data can be shared, and data can be shared more consensually to bring down more value to their individual members. So data needs stewardship, and we think data cooperatives have a role in this, because they build on a tried and tested means for people to come together to cooperate when faced with common challenges. they are based on already existing structures. And from our research, we think that they can start to, and with the right nurturing, we can start to develop them so they can have benefit not only for the members themselves, but the communities in which they live and for wider society. Thank you.